Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Cocktail Hour. Yes,
Hello.
Yep. Agreed.
we are back and we're raring to go. How y'all doing?
Good. You talking to us? And
Us,
the
I'm
audience?
talking to y'all.
All right.
Yeah.
We're
I mean,
good.
I think I'm doing better than Sherry. She's got a big hole in her chest.
Big hole in your chest.
I got a big hole in my chest.
Ah,
Oh, it's my your world shirt. It's
right.
very green. It's a very pretty green. It's like the green that's on the screen back there. But let us remain calm. Yeah. All right.
Well, since
that's all I got.
You've been updating, so tell us what's been going on with you since you got back from sunny Florida.
It's been cold and rainy, shitty, and
I'll switch.
I would be happy to. I would be happy to. I would love to be back in Florida. It did rain today.
Well, you guys were sorely missed. You were fantastic company. We had a good damn time.
We did. I gained more than 5 pounds while we were there.
Oh, wow.
You're only here for what, 4 days? What the hell?
Do you know how much? Oh my God, I ate so much. I ate so much. So much. It was delicious. Every bit of it was
Isn't
delicious.
it amazing that I'm not as wide as I am tall? I mean, seriously, with all the food around here?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
We fed the ugly ducks. That was fun.
Well, so what did you all have?
Oh, I had every meal had at least 3 meats. So I think that was mostly it. I had a lot of meat.
We had a Tex-Mex place. We had a Cuban joint.
Yeah. We just went to a steak place. I think a barbecue. Yeah, we did. We ate a lot.
Yeah, we did.
We had a lot of food.
And then we got dessert because we went over to the donut joint. We have a place here locally that has 2.
And even my donut had meat on it. I had a bacon maple.
Oh, that's right. You got the bacon donut thing.
It was the best donut I ever had in my whole damn life. I love that donut.
Good stuff.
It was delicious. I'm so glad I don't live by you.
Yeah.
I would have no willpower whatsoever.
So I got to get Colette and her other half to come down.
There you go.
Have some food.
I mean, yeah, I'm all about eating, but could you just be in a better state?
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't too bad. I mean, we just stayed. Oh, except for we did go to the Cuban restaurant we went to. If we hadn't have been visiting, we would have got up and left. They had Fox News on.
Oh.
And we're facing the TV. And TJ very, very sweetly asked, because she's a very sweet person, is it okay? Can we go ahead and, I know the volume's off, but can we turn the channel? No. Like, that's it. No. Like, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and eat our food. And yeah. But besides that, I think that was like the only brush with insanity that we had.
Well, it was only 4 days, so
it's true. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was great. We came home and I immediately ordered a screen for the backyard, and we had movie night on the patio. We got new patio furniture.
I was going to say, you got new patio furniture.
I have a food saver vacuum sealer.
Oh, you did get one.
I did. It's right on the counter. I freaking love it. And I got exactly the same microwave plate cover.
Oh.
So we went to Andy's house, picked out all the shit that we like, and then came home and bought all that.
Well, that's the way to do it. You get to try it out.
I know, right? That was great. It was great.
Yep.
So what are we all drinking? Oh, well, Colette, what have you been up to?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The exciting lives we lead.
Yeah. I mean, I don't go places and see people, so.
Is it a drooling? Is that what it is?
I was like
you drool in public.
Am
You
I
know.
drooling now?
Oh, drool. Oh,
No.
I should,
I'm messing
that
with you.
beard, I guess.
Yeah,
you know.
no, it's the rabid spread of disease that I can't cope with.
Yeah.
You know, and now that the emergency is over for COVID, or I guess it will be on the 11th, right? So yesterday I rolled out and I got a booster shot and I got some free COVID tests while I can still get them, because after the 11th you won't be able to. I went first thing in the morning.
Got mine right here.
There you go. Because I don't want to stand in line with people and their awful germs. I've become like a poor version of Howard Hughes. I mean, I'm not peeing in bottles yet. But
that's great.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
Andy's the only
probably,
person
like,
we went to see.
one more pandemic away from that. We'll just see what happens.
If you get a Kate Hepburn lookalike come to the house, let me know.
Oh, I will.
Okay. So, Sherry asked a very good question. I think Colette should go first. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a cocktail that I had never heard of, but it's called a Chicago. Like, I specifically looked up cocktails that were related to Chicago or had Chicago in the name, and I was like, oh, how have I never heard of this? Well, I mean, I made some subtle changes to make it much more drinkable than it was.
And you took two different recipes and kind of combined them and then changed it up, right?
Yeah, I mean, the initial recipe that I tried was brandy, triple sec,
orange liqueur. That's the triple
Angostura bitters.
Yeah.
And then, so you mix all that, and then you add 3 ounces of sparkling or champagne. And that was just a little too punch it in the quim. Like, everything was liquor except for the dash of bitters, and it was just not enjoyable. So then I found another Chicago recipe that had lemon juice in it, but it didn't have any champagne. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I have 3 ounces of sparkling. I have an ounce of brandy. I have an ounce of lemon juice. And then I have a 1/4 ounce of maraschino liqueur and a 1/4 ounce of, I think it said dry curacao or orange curacao, but what I have is Patron orange. So.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, I use the Patron orange liqueur for margaritas because it's really good for that. It's like it's designed to be added to tequila. I guess because it's made by Patron.
But yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. So I've got, I don't know, 4.5, 5 ounces of liquor. I'm ready to go. It's a little pulpy, right? And I tossed in a couple of
from the lemon
berries. Yes, from the lemon. But other than that, it's delightful.
Lovely.
Very nice.
Lovely.
Nice.
Andy?
I'm shaking it up a little bit with some peach cider. Hard cider.
Lovely.
Yes. What about you, Sherry?
I discovered Corona non-alcoholic.
What?
Non-alcoholic Corona. And it's very tasty.
Oh,
God damn it, Cat, get excuse me.
I didn't even know they made that. That's crazy.
I didn't either. I went to the store. I was getting TJ Sambira. I figured, well, let me go just take a gander because there's always some new ones coming out.
Wow. Does it taste like beer?
Yeah, this is actually my favorite one right now. I don't drink a lot of the non-alcoholic beers because some of them just taste like beer soda, and that's not lovely. But this one tastes pretty good. Even TJ was like, oh, that's pretty good.
Not bad. I noticed that my housekeeper left 1 Corona. I don't know if that was, here's to my homies and left it in there. I don't know.
Maybe so. Maybe. Yeah, I could see that.
Maybe she didn't want you to be totally without a beer.
Oh,
If you had a beer emergency.
She left a lager in there too, which is kind of weird. All
maybe
right,
she doesn't like lager.
Maybe not. Maybe she missed it. I don't know. How'd she miss that Corona? You can't.
I
Miss
don't know.
a bottle of
Yeah.
Corona. It's sitting. How do you miss it? I don't
Well,
know.
clearly we need to come back.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
All right then.
So today we're going to be chatting about Eric Larson's Devil in the White City. It's been on the market for quite a while, and
A bajillion years.
Has it
Yeah.
been?
It's been out for a while. I just don't know how long a while it is. Was it in the early 2000s? Uh-oh. Call it
Yep.
Let us consult the Oracle of Google.
The Oracle of Google.
2003.
Keeps cutting in. I can't.
Not
Freaking
bad.
yeah.
2003. I was pretty.
So this millennium,
Yeah. Yep. It's been out a while.
but just barely. Yeah.
So I had been wanting to read this book for a really long time. A really, really long time. And I thought that it was going to be about murder, magic, and something at the fair that I can't see because I'm in the way. But I thought it was going to be. I was tried that. It did. Oh, it's because my madness. Murder, magic, and madness. America. So there was murder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where was the magic?
I don't know where there was any magic, and I also am not sure about the madness. Go ahead.
I would suggest that the murder was the Holmes thing with the kids and what's his name?
Yeah, but that's the only one that we can identify.
Right. So where's the magic?
Where's the magic and the madness?
I would think the magic is, wasn't it they lit that entire park up with electric lights? That was like a big first, right?
But no, that's not magic. That's just alternating current.
Well, I can tell you right now, because of the advent of electricity, I am very happy, and I think it's magical and wonderful.
Okay, we can go with that. And I suppose the madness would just be, we assume that H.H. Holmes was mad. He wasn't.
No, but that might be all the weird shit that went on with the architects. And
maybe
how long it took them to get any fucking thing done and all the egos involved. I boiled this book down to this. White men create, white men destroy. That's where I'm going.
Oh wow. Wow. I wonder how many of our books could be described as that.
Well, probably a lot.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. So we have, I'll just kind of set the scene. What year was it? 1892, something like that. 1894.
Well, because so it's all about the World's Fair that happens in Chicago in 1893. So the book takes place, a few years prior to that, because there's all. So let's just start by saying this guy, Eric Larson, thought he was going to write a compelling book about the World's Fair.
We were hopeful.
There were some interesting things. There were some little tidbits and trivia.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, he decided he was going to fold in this story of H.H. Holmes, a serial killer who was also in Chicago and killing people during the World's Fair. But
excuse me, somebody just rang the doorbell. I think I'm going to actually have to go in.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, people should know at this point that is no longer allowed in the United States.
Ain't that the truth?
Very dangerous.
Don't open if it's a vacuum salesperson. No kidding.
Do those people still exist?
I have not seen them.
I can't imagine that door-to-door salesmen still exist.
No, I think mostly it's Jehovah's Witnesses or political activists.
It was FedEx. TJ ordered a new standing desk that was
Oh,
supposed to be here on Monday, and it's here today.
oh,
So
great work, FedEx.
So good
Yeah.
job that you didn't shoot him.
Ah,
you
right.
know, he rang the doorbell. You get what you get when
He's
you ring the
asking for
doorbell, apparently.
And he was probably wearing something tight.
Woo!
He was. He
See?
was, yeah. But he
Yeah.
was a white guy, so, you know.
Oh, well, never mind.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So there just wasn't there was no shortage of information for Eric Larson to cite about
Sure.
the World's Fair.
Yep.
If we went through another completely densely populated menu, I was going to lose my fucking mind.
Okay. I mean, so I thought the name of the book is The Devil in the White City. Devil is huge. The first thing on there is murder. Okay. I think that this book was like 75% World's Fair information
Agreed.
and 25% shit about H.H. Holmes.
Mhm.
Which probably only 10% is factual.
Right, which we're going to talk about. So I expected a book heavily devoted to learning about H.H. Holmes, kind of like along the lines of what we would get with a Jeff Gwynne book, right?
Right,
You know,
right.
you got the growing up years, some family history.
I mean, we did
Um,
get some of that.
We did,
Yeah.
but we got much more about the soil content in Chicago. Like,
And what kind of whooping cough
it was
this
just
particular
yeah.
person who designed shrubbery, like, I don't give a shit. I just don't care. I don't care. I mean, all of these poor guys at the time, they were very delicate flowers. And
Yeah,
They
right.
were. Oh my
seemed to
god!
have dropsy or consumption or some other appropriate, timely
Yes.
disease.
It-
But
you know, it was so much about all the individual architects and engineers, and you know how, and some of it was interesting, right? I mean, you know, a lot of the discussion about the lead up to the fair and Chicago being selected, and you know how Windy City got its name, which I still don't believe that. I mean, especially now after all the other shit that he bullshitted about. There were some interesting things, like learning about the Ferris wheel. That was cool.
Yeah, that was
was cool.
fascinating.
But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that was supposed to be like a big reveal. You go through half the book before.
I know, and they kept saying, "We haven't decided on anything yet. We got to do this."
Yeah, and
and
he's
like,
just
it was the
talking about-
fucking Ferris wheel.
Meanwhile, electrical designer is off sketching schematics and blah blah bloop 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 dun dun dun. Like, okay.
I love
know.
how it took them like what 2.5 years just to agree on the damn plan, and then they had what like 6 months or 8 months to
Because they
put
kept
it in operation.
because
Yeah.
they put it off. Yeah.
You know what they needed? They needed like a committee of lesbians. That's what they needed.
Get that shit
Legit.
done.
They would get that shit done
We don't have
and
no
add some
patience
few
for that
extra
shit.
sprinkles that made it better. Just saying.
Right. Yeah. So it starts out as this letter, or you know, this reminiscence from, I can't even fucking remember the guy's name. The main
Burnham?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
he's
I had to pull up a list of characters.
I know there's a lot. There's a
It
lot
is
of
not
folks.
all inclusive, and I feel like it leaves out like 2/3 of the people in this book.
Lots
That's okay,
of fragile
really.
egos up in here, y'all.
My God. So it starts out. He is on the HMS Victoria, I think,
Right.
and he's passing, supposedly passing by, or heading in opposite directions. His good dear friend Frank Millet, who is a painter, which I thought was like a painter, but then the only thing he's painting in the World's Fair is like some fucking outsides of buildings. Like, oh, really? This guy gets so much coverage and he just fucking paints the walls white? Really? Okay, that's fine. But he was on the Titanic, so,
Yeah.
He didn't make it.
So he was known for his bad judgment.
Clearly.
Clearly. Yeah, so that was many years later. And then everybody dies. It's all fine.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah, so we start out with all this fair stuff, and then what's H.H. Holmes' real name?
Mudgett.
Mudgett.
Yeah,
Mudgett.
that sounds right.
Like Herman Mudgett.
Yeah, Herman Mudgett, yeah.
Something like that. This guy is just fascinating to me. I mean, because he's go ahead.
Especially since you're getting, I think, the more accurate truth behind that individual through outside reading than this particular book.
Yeah. But even without any of the murdery stuff, like completely without that. So he studies to be, he's a doctor, and then he's going to do it. He's a pharmacist, which is actually really smart because pharmacists make shit tons of money. So he's a con man. He's a straight up con man, and he gets away with so much shit just constantly. So I mean, even if you take away all of the murder stuff, this guy is something else already.
I mean, he seemed a little Trumpy to me.
Oh,
right?
I think,
he rolls into town. He makes up a name.
A lot of them.
He says, "Oh, yeah, this building, I want to buy this. This building wants to be bought by this person who he made up, who doesn't exist. He doesn't pay any of his bills. He has contractors come in every week to make renovations, and at the end of every week, he shit cans them all. He never pays any of his bills. And when the bank comes to say, hey, there's outstanding bills, he's like, oh, you got to talk to imaginary owner guy.
I know you got.
That's not me."
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then in this other book that we're reading, he's also been described as a little bit racist. So yeah, and he's got
1893. It's kind of a popular.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's probably the default.
Yeah, that's a better way to say
probably. It. He's also a womanizer, big time.
These women are so sad and desperate.
Yeah, it's really funny
because his ass is so attractive.
Yeah, one's going one way.
Like, on our first date, he took me to watch the hogs get slaughtered in the center of town, and it was I was so taken.
Your camera's locked up, so
like two different ladies.
Your camera's locked up, Colette, so it just looks like you're just like a ventriloquist at this point.
It's working for me.
You haven't moved for like 5 minutes.
Seriously?
Yeah. But it's cool though, because it's a really nice clear picture of you. So
I mean, if that's what's gonna happen.
There you are.
Oh, you're moving now.
I was gonna say I could just send you guys a picture.
No, that
we had one up. We didn't need another one.
Yeah, that's good. It was good. So let's talk about the narrator for a few minutes. Scott Brick, who also does all of Greg Hurwitz's books, all of the Orphan X books. I think I've just been oversaturated with Scott Brick, and I just don't care for him very much. And I think if he's okay. I've definitely listened to worse,
Oh yeah, I
But
was
he's
just gonna say.
yeah, but he's not my go-to.
Mm.
And I think it also had a lot to do with the fact that this book just kind of dragged on and
It didn't help.
on and on. It did not help.
It did not help.
It did.
Yeah, I just didn't. It felt like there was a full book written about the World's Fair.
Mhm.
It included every little bit of minutia that he could possibly uncover.
Yeah.
And then at some point, he decided that he wanted to include H.H. Holmes, and he sort of shoehorned some content in there.
Yeah.
It seemed like two separate books to me.
It did. You
Never
know,
got a cohesive sense that these two things belong together. It's not like, I mean, other than the fact that he and some of his girlfriends / wives, and I think he had like 3 wives at once, went to the World's Fair.
there was nothing else about it.
Wasn't anything that tied them together.
I don't think so
location
either.
and time period, I think. But he
That's
does
it.
that.
Yeah.
He does that with all his books.
So this
he'll
was my first.
expose 2 different things in the same time period.
But don't they have something to, to tie them together other than
Thunderstruck did for sure, because it was, Dr. Crippen and how Scotland Yard, by use of the Marconi telegraph, was able to capture him and Ethel and Eve as they were leaving UK and heading to America. And he got a faster ship and beat him to the port. So, I mean,
but that was the only tie-in?
Nearly tied together. That's how those books tied together, or that book. Other than that, though, it was separated, right? So it was about Marconi and how he wasn't a physicist or scientist, and he wound up doing, the telegraph for ocean transatlantic voyages, because they hadn't been able to do that up until this point. And then you had the story of Dr. Crippen.
I feel like I would not enjoy those books.
They mesh together a lot better than this one does.
Okay, because it really did. I mean, it really did seem like I kept thinking, when is this all gonna come together?
Loose threads. They were definitely loose threads.
Yeah. I mean, so he let's talk about one of the things that so Andy also suggested this other book by another dude. Let me pull that up real quick because they had it at the library. I love the library.
Yeah, man.
Well, enjoy them while you can.
Yeah,
I know, right? This one is called, don't start playing though, H.H. Holmes, The True History of the White City Devil by Adam Seltzer.
Yeah.
Seltzer.
So when did that book come out? And
2017.
The White City Devil because of this book?
Probably. He does mention Larson's book in it.
Yeah, he does. But it also, remember that loose thread we were talking about, that dangling thread? That's really the only thing, is Holmes lived in Chicago,
but
when
even
the
most
World's
of
Fair opened. I mean, that is the loose thread. That's it. That's it. That keeps these two together. Yeah.
The main killings that happened towards the end, right? The stuff
we're not even in Illinois.
Right. The stuff that he was eventually convicted for, happened all over.
Yeah.
And I don't even understand what the fuck that was, right? So he had this accomplice, this guy, this little cretin who helped him do illegal things. And
Ben.
No, I was calling him a cretin because
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. But this guy had a wife and he had a bunch of kids. And then at some point, he takes 3 of the kids, takes them all over the United States, and kills one here and incinerates him, and then goes to a new state and kills 1 or 2 of them here. And
I don't get why he killed those kids.
I don't either.
I mean,
I
I
don't
know why he
understand it at all, and this book did not help me understand.
No, so okay, so let's talk about some of the things that through Adam Selzer's book, and I'm not very far through it at all. It's a 17, almost 18 hour, it's a 17-hour book, so it's even longer.
Wow.
But what this guy does,
So more menus.
no, not at all. What this
and they
guy
had
does,
foie gras, and they had escargot,
Oh
and
my
they had
God.
this and this and
that
this.
was awful.
Yes.
It really was. It was awful. Because who gives a shit? I actually fast forwarded through some of it. This guy, what he does is he's using newspapers from the locations where the events actually happened. So he focused on original documents from. So if a paper had reporters on the ground in that location, then he would use that as a source.
And court documents.
And a lot of court documents.
Didn't Eric Larson do the same thing? Right?
I
Remember,
can't
we
see
get
how
to
it's
the
possible
end,
that he did.
And he says, "I didn't use that newfangled internet."
Yeah, I don't see.
No. I physically went to all these libraries and I looked at all these periodicals of the time. And I mean, that was certainly the story that he tells at the very end.
Well, that might be true about the World's Fair.
Yeah, but not about
Holmes.
Holmes.
It's not going to be true when it comes to the Holmes information.
Yeah. Unless he did the shit like what Adam Seltzer says he didn't do. Like if for the events that like happened in Pennsylvania, he would not rely on a Chicago paper for that unless the Chicago paper physically sent a reporter to Pennsylvania to cover it. So maybe, I don't know. So like let's talk about some of the things that are different between the Larson book, and I honestly don't give a shit about the World's Fair. So if we don't talk anymore about that, I'm okay with it. But if you want to, go ahead.
I would love to, just a side note, I would, love to be a time traveler, right? And be able to put my disguise on, whatever it is, so people don't look at me, don't talk to me, don't fuck around. I just want to be able to stroll down the main avenue, right?
So you'd be a rich white man.
That's right. Very
Yes.
good. Anyway, but I would have loved to have seen that World's Fair. I just think all those
It sounded amazing.
It does.
The pictures that exist are incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, and think about this being visualized in 1891 or 92, whenever, whenever the first stages began, because it was just, I mean, it's so different from what was around at that time.
I mean, to think about it, right? The one in Paris right before it, that's where the Eiffel Tower went up. I mean, that's just not something that we even think about not existing. Right.
Yeah. So, I think the thing that kind of surprised me was how temporary these buildings and events were meant to be.
Yeah, like stage sets. Yeah.
It was 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that how long it stayed up?
Burned most of them down.
Yeah.
Which is really a shame. I think there's 3 buildings that still exist from the Chicago World's Fair. One is where it originally was, which is sort of right there where they built that, what is it, a lake or whatever they're calling it?
Oh, yeah.
Buildings on a swamp, right? Yeah. Now I think it holds the museum.
The field. He also designed, Burnham also designed the Field Museum.
Well, but one of the original buildings has a museum in it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's a museum of science or whatever it is.
Okay.
But it's still there and it hasn't been moved and it's giant. And of course, all of these buildings were neoclassical. So it's remarkable.
Yeah.
And then 2 of the buildings still exist, but they were physically taken down and moved and reassembled somewhere else. Everything else is gone, including that giant statue of whatever it was called. What was it?
Yeah,
Liberty
the
or-
woman with the sun crown or whatever. Yeah, yeah. What the hell was that?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, there's like a smaller version of it that was made and was put somewhere in Chicago. But
I
yeah,
just know where the bean is, you know.
the bean.
Yeah. The big silver bean and the big eyeball.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you describing Chicago landmarks?
I am
Okay.
indeed.
I am not familiar with the big bean.
Oh, just Google the
big
bean,
eyeball.
the
I'm
Chicago
afraid
bean.
that I might not want to, but okay.
Oh no, it's really cool. It's this big, huge silver thing that you can walk under it, and it's just like this big, huge mirror type thing. It's really cool. And the eyeball I used to use the eyeball as one of my avatars. It was big bloodshot looking.
How'd that go?
Michelle, hello.
Hey, Michelle.
But yeah, I was really kind of bummed when I saw how temporary all that stuff was meant to be, and
especially since there's so many homeless poor people that were living there at the time. That was one of the big things.
Yeah.
So they talk a lot about the castle, right? Holmes is his big house, a big building that, you know, he kept adding things to and had all these little weird rooms and shit. And the way that Larson and this other documentary that I watched make this out to be is his big torture chambery murder house. But in reality, it was a way for him to hide all the shit that he was buying on credit so that people couldn't fucking find it.
Which actually is brilliant.
It's brilliant, right?
Plus the fact that as Colette said, you know, she smells a grift, right? So, you know, he would let these poor people, hardworking people, work all week, and then would fire the company and not pay the workers. So it was like a win-win-win-win for this guy.
One of my favorite things that he did is, well, there's so many. This guy was such a con artist. So one of my favorite things is the regular bicycle. They called it the safety bicycle, which I had no idea that was called that. So when they did away with the big wheel and the little wheel, they came up with the regular two wheels that are just, you know, similar. So what he would do is he would rent all of these bicycles on credit, sell them all, and then stiff the people that he rented them from.
And
skedaddle. Right. Oh my God. So, and then he did something where he had convinced. He was always looking for some kind of an invention, something that he could patent and make a shit ton of money off of. So he had convinced like the gas company that he had come up with a way to make gas from like whatever
air or some shit.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, physics, no, it's not gonna work,
right? Right. Go ahead.
No, I think you'll tell it better.
So he gets the gas, and the gas company's coming over like, oh, this is something that we could really make some money off of. The fucker had just piped into the city's gas main and was using all their own gas. Did something similar with water, had some natural spring water or something. He had just tapped into the city of Chicago's water main.
Well,
I mean,
he was a grifter.
I mean, but for the World's Fair, even Chicago didn't want to use Chicago's water.
They came up here over to a town down the road up to Waukesha and tried to steal all our water. I love it because that's just like people in Waukesha still. You ain't getting nothing of mine. Come up with guns and shit, gonna try and kill people from Chicago to come in to take up their damn water. So that was funny. So then they decided they weren't going to take it from the city of Waukesha. They took it from Waukesha County, and then they were just like, "It's fine. Nobody will know the difference."
Exactly, and apparently nobody did.
I mean, yeah, it's Yeah. It was just, he's just such a, I was just in awe of his ability to constantly rip people off. And he had, people taking him to court. And it wasn't, so one of the things, I think it was in the Larson book, where he was talking about like the police chief or somebody who was in law enforcement that was prosecuting him for the murders, had been his defense lawyer during some of the lawsuits.
Yeah, I probably just glazed over that one.
Yeah, I don't know. It was later in the book, so you probably were.
Or it's in the other book, which I have not read.
Maybe
you really should do yourself a favor and read that.
Yeah, it's worth it. If you're interested in it, if you're interested in Holmes, it's a better truthful thing. So let's talk about the pharmacy. So he moves to Chicago, and he finds this really nice pharmacy right on the corner, and from Larson's version, it's this elderly woman and her pharmacist husband who is in bad health, and she can't manage the business anymore, and Holmes kind of worms his way in and buys the business from them.
And then they disappear.
And then then it's made out that Holmes murdered them both. Either the husband first, and then the elderly woman. None of that is true.
Right.
Not even remotely close. The couple were in their 20s. The woman was the doctor, not the husband. And she wanted to sell the business because she wanted to have another kid. And they did not disappear. They lived in Chicago all the way up until after Holmes was executed. And there was something in the Seltzer book that that she did not give interviews because her daughter had just died, and she was grieving. So there was something like, well, this is why people didn't really hear from her. It wasn't because she was gone.
Yeah.
And apparently everybody knew she was there. So it was some invention after the fact.
Right. But Larson makes it sound like people were coming by the pharmacy saying, oh, well, where's Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so?
Right.
Oh, yeah, they got on a train and moved to wherever.
Right.
Because, and obviously the implication is that they're somewhere in an ash pile.
Right. And so he was living, I can't remember, he was living with some old woman, like in a boarding house at the beginning. And she goes into his room to sweep up, and there's a dead baby under his bed or some such shit. And it smells really bad. And it was a while before she could go back in there. But this is when he was in medical school.
Oh. He did.
There was a lot of grave robbing that happened.
You're right, resurrection.
Yeah. Right. But this wasn't a grave robbing thing. He got permission from the instructor to take this dead baby home to dissect and work on over like the spring break or something.
Because that's what you do on spring break.
I mean, that's what I do, but what do you get? Yeah. I'm not going to judge, but yeah. So, I mean, apparently this guy, I mean, clearly he murdered people, but it was always to benefit him in some way financially,
Except for those last.
except for the kids. I don't get the kids.
Seltzer's book will get into it. I just don't remember what it was.
Okay.
But it was some kind of weird, it had to do with something that Peitzer and him and Peitzer's wife, well, she didn't really know anything. She just knew that they were going to do something and money was coming in. Like, she wasn't a direct accessory, really.
But didn't she know about, because their thing was that he was going to stage his dad. They were going to stage Peitzer's.
Yeah. She knew they were going to try to steal money from the insurance company. Right. That was the whole grift.
Because that's why they went to Pennsylvania, because that's where the company was, and they wanted to do it at the company where the company was.
Yeah, I had forgotten how much insurance fraud there was.
A lot.
Tons and tons of insurance fraud.
Yes.
There still is a lot of insurance fraud today. Yeah. But yes, it had to have been rampant. I mean, think about, no internet, no sophisticated police. I mean,
right.
If you were a criminal, those were the salad days right there.
Well, and as far as the police goes, I mean, most of them were being paid off.
True.
Right.
You had that element too. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So there was
with the Peitzer thing. Seltzer talked about in the book with the grift they had going on, but what Peitzer didn't know was, it seemed like the whole idea all along was to kill him for money.
Yeah.
But there was something about the kids had to go on vacation. Something he'll tell you in the book. But there was a reason, although a stretched out reason, but there was a reason the kids were with him. But what bothered me when I was listening to it, I just remember distinctly, was, why would you want to drag 3 kids around, or whatever the hell many there were?
Right.
I mean, I understand if you're getting to point A to point B, right?
But they were going all over the place for no apparent reason.
Exactly. And so he's got his current wife. I say current, just meaning the most recent wife, because there were a lot of them at the same time. Right. So he's got a wife traveling with him at one hotel. He's got these 3 kids at a whole separate hotel. And they're writing these tragic journal entries like, saw the sun 3 days ago.
Why won't you write to me, Mom?
Lovely.
I miss you. Yeah,
that was right to me. I've written to you 72 times and I've not heard from you. I love you, Mummy. Right?
Yeah. It was very sad. I felt terrible for those kids.
I mean, when you hear or read with your eyeballs those excerpts from the letters, I'm just amazed I forget what was it, Alice? Was that her name, the oldest daughter? She was the one that writing the letters, I believe.
Yeah. Let me consult the list of characters that is 182 long.
When she was writing the letters, I thought, this kid sounds a lot older. Like, I would be hard-pressed to find a kid that could write a letter like that today.
Alice, Nellie, and Howard.
Yeah. Okay.
And Howard was just a little dude.
Yeah. He was like, what, 2 or 3 or 4? He was little dude.
He was a little dude who apparently got into a lot of trouble and was. Yeah, I look forward to reading that part. But it was just, so like Larson made it out, and like this in this other documentary, super duper dark about what's going on inside that building.
Right.
The gas pipe coming through the room, and this safe that soundproof, but there's really not any evidence, I don't think, right, that I'm aware of, that anybody actually died in that joint.
Aware of. Not that it's not on the table, but Holmes, if you think about his patterns, if he were just a killer for the sake of killing, then yes, I believe more than likely he did open his place up to have, lots of single women were getting independent and wanting to get their butts over to the World Fair because it
Right.
was the thing, right?
And that's what they make it out to be in Larson's
Right.
book.
Right, which there's no evidence that I know of that. But if he killed for the sake of killing, then yes, I think that's a lot more plausible.
Yeah.
But he did not extend any energy unless it has something to do with a really good financial gain. I'm
Exactly.
not talking about, $10 in somebody's pocket. I'm talking
thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
for him to just take in Borders for a weekend, what the fuck? He would not even want to waste his time with that because he'd be thinking of some bigger grift.
Right,
Seriously.
exactly. So I mean, they make it out like, okay, well, the World's Fair is going on. He built that third floor. He's got all this shit going. But according to Seltzer's book, there's no indication that it was ever acting as any sort of hotel.
No.
He had regular monthly renters in some of the rooms.
Yep.
But there was no concierge, there's no check-in desk, there was nothing at all to show that he ever had any of that. That's exactly what he was. He was a fat payday killer. That's all that he was interested in. Was him making some bucks. That was it. I mean, it's not like a lot of the other serial killers and shit that we talk about or read about, where they are driven, to kill.
Power, domination, to kill. Right.
Exactly. This guy didn't have any of that shit. He was a lover. He just wanted to love and get some money, and that was it.
Money. And then once the money ran out, the love did too.
The love did too. He was gone.
He was gone. Yeah. But I got a big kick. I don't remember if it was I don't think it was Larson's book. I think it was Seltzer's book that talked about when Holmes did one of his, his schemes, and basically it resulted in horse wrangling in Texas.
Oh yeah. I can't remember the whole story about that.
Yeah, I'll get you hung up in the nearest tree.
And now, didn't he ended up in jail for that? He did. Right? Yeah, he got caught for that one.
I think,
and that was that had to have been in the Seltzer book, because I don't remember anything. Do you remember anything about that, Colette? Yeah, because that was in.
Oh, you're talking about the White City.
If it was in Larson's book.
No. But yeah, so almost got his shit kicked for.
He was like, "I'm sorry, I made a serious mistake."
I got money coming in. You don't mess with Texas with guns and livestock of any kind. Yeah. Talking about horses and cattle, you don't mess.
Yeah. So I definitely I do want to. I'm going to continue on with that, because this book is actually what I thought I was going to be getting in the
White
Larson
City?
book. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about Chicago and the White City. I mean, it was, some parts of it were interesting.
Yeah, some parts were very interesting.
And if I knew that I was going to be reading a book about the World's Fair and Chicago solidly, I would have been more prepared and had a better attitude.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
But after a few hours, I was like, I don't care. I don't care. Where's Holmes?
Yeah.
Well,
I suggested it. I can be mad at myself. Damn it.
And I listened to it, a decade ago, whenever the hell I first listened to it. I don't think I think I read it with my eyeballs.
Yeah, I think I listened to it. Well, I listened to part of it not too long after it came out, and I gave up.
Oh.
Wow. I was like, well, maybe I bailed right at the very good part, because this was a very popular book.
It was super popular, which also made me feel betrayed.
Mega huge.
All the people that I knew who read it and said that it was incredible. It's not
incredible in what way? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, unless you're super into engineering and Chicago history, which
history. Right? Yeah,
and the minutia of menus.
Yeah, That really bugged you, didn't it?
It happened like 6 times. Like, and all of these architects got together, and then he had like 4 paragraphs of what they ate. And I'm sorry, I don't give 2 shits about what they ate.
The potatoes were lightly salted.
Right.
As they should be.
With just a small bit of fresh cracked pepper.
Absolutely elegant.
With truffles and yeah, I agree. I think this other one, the seltzer book, is definitely going to be much more of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I've listened to it several times.
All of those people lied. Michelle read it so she could fall asleep. I'm telling you, it definitely would have served the purpose. Fuck melatonin.
Plus, the narrator did not help.
He didn't.
He was not compelling.
No, he wasn't.
Well, so our next book is supposed to be Waco by Jeff Gwynne. I feel like we're still okay with that one.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean,
okay.
Right. Unless somebody gets a brilliant idea and just can't not wait.
And can't contain herself.
That's right.
I mean, that has happened. That has happened.
I feel like it has.
Yeah. So are we going to, are we moving to the first Saturday of the month?
Yeah, until something happens and then we delay it a week. And
yeah.
Right, so eventually we'll be back on the last.
Eventually, we will. Yeah. You know, we do this for free. It's fine.
Yeah, man. We don't ask you to subscribe. We don't ask you to hit buttons. We don't put ads in this work. We don't do nothing but just sit here and talk to you.
We just talk, you know, for us and the 3 or 4 people that actually watch eventually.
That's like 2 or 3 more than I expected.
Yeah, it's just 3 old ladies,
just
3 old white women talking about a book.
Say about this book that it made me really sad for women of the era.
Oh my God! They had the one woman that was working on something.
Yes, on the women's building.
On the women's,
that's like a real building with real content. Even though they were kind of the only ones that were ready on time.
Yeah.
But all of the women that Holmes, I'm just going to say, duped, right? Yeah. They were all like, oh, he's so handsome. And I wish I had somebody who'd hit this. And they were, I mean, it just made me really sad.
He had no shortage of women chasing after him.
Totally.
He had a very manly mustache. I do have to say,
like he had too much mustache.
He had
like he could
so
have had
much.
Maybe half that mustache.
I don't know. I mean that is a hell of a mustache. That is a hell of a mustache.
Yeah, like coming down and going out, and
it's wrapping it around his ears.
I mean, not exactly like Guinness Book of World Records mustache, but
not even Snidely Whiplash. Come on.
A lot of mustache.
That was a lot of mustache.
We're going to talk about the banana splits next. Watch out, Sherry.
That's the first time I've done that since I've been home. Damn you! I had that in my head the whole time I was in Florida.
Why?
I don't know. I've never even seen that show.
Weird but true story.
Yes.
All right. Well, wow, we're actually on time this time.
Oh, look at us. Look at us. All right. So everybody go grab Waco by Jeff Gwynne. Read.
Right.
Watch
we know
the
we like the author.
Yeah, we know we like the author. He actually sticks to facts and gets into all the cool stuff that we like.
Well, you know, one thing we didn't mention was that the filling in the pieces of information that there's no way that Eric Larson could have. And then at the end, he references Truman Capote and In Cold Blood and says, yeah, I really had to think about how I was going to have these scenes that there's no way that I could have any knowledge of what was said or what was done because it was a killer and his victim, right? And there's whole sections of conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped as soon as the book part was done. I was like, okay, I'm all done.
Well, I was waiting for him to go into where he got all the menus, but he never really got to that. How we talked about potatoes, lyonnaise,
Yeah,
and where
so
they got their sour cream from.
did
And the poor firefighters had to jump off the building.
Mm.
did he talk about where he got the menus, or is that some of the shit that
He
he
does
just
not
made up?
mention where he talks about the menus, but he does come in and say, I was in this quandary because I have whole scenes where I have dialogue between the killer and his victim, and there's no way for me to know that. And so I went and read Truman Capote's In Cold Blood multiple times to try and get assistance. And that is something that we talked about when we read that book
Yeah.
on this podcast. Was
Yeah.
like the fact that book was kind of the first novel, like true.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like a true crime
True novel.
novelization. Right.
Well, that was a lot better than the Belle Gunnis one. That book pissed me off.
I had high
That-
hopes for that.
Yeah, that I didn't care for that book at all. That one made me mad because that one was just like bullshit. Isn't that the one that woman wrote that I was really pissed off about?
Yeah. The woman that came over from Holland, or
I don't remember.
What you were pissed off at.
I can't remember. I think it was
it
that
wasn't
book.
great.
No, maybe it wasn't. Which was the one that was a novelization? And it said that it was a novelization of this. I think it was Belle Gunnis with her sister and
It
shit.
could be.
Yeah. I don't know. It just, I can't remember why I was so mad, but I was really mad about that book. Or maybe it wasn't that one. I think it was Hell's Bells. It was
Yeah, that was the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, and I get it, right? I mean, you are writing a nonfiction book, but you have to fill in a scene about what you think happened.
Right.
But I don't know. I think there's only a few people who can probably pull that off. And maybe Truman Capote was one of them. But
yeah.
I don't know. My bigger issue is that it was just too much architecture and state and world fair and not enough grisly murder.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want.
It's
and
true.
also a bunch of bullshit that didn't actually happen to make it seem like a big grisly murder.
Well, and a lot of politics about, and then we had to meet with the president of blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Like, I don't care about that at all.
Yeah. The reporters lining up to find out. I don't care about any of that shit. Sorry, Andy. I think that you enjoyed that stuff, didn't you?
Well, I think it's one of those things where you got to get hit with it at the right time, and I was just in the right time. So it could have been a complete opposite. Like, I want more action. I want more dialogue. I want, like more than a one-dimensional character, or a two-dimensional character.
Yeah.
So I was at the right time.
Yeah.
Not about the Holmes thing. That always made me mad because when I did an outside investigation just on my own, I could tell how much was, I'm just going to fill in this right here because this just seems like it might either further the plot or it could have happened. It's like,
I mean, I get we can fill in some shit, but that was just some straight up bullshit.
Yeah,
I mean,
cloth up in there.
But it wasn't just him, right? I mean, this documentary I watched on Netflix that I had seen before.
That was garbage too.
That was super garbage.
Yeah,
it was even worse. And they make it out to be this really dastardly thing, the way that it's filmed, and all these shadows lurking here and there. Yeah.
Did you ever watch? Oh, I guess we should get going, but don't hang up because I want to ask you about a film.
All right.
So I'm glad you guys are here. I've had a good time talking with you. I'm glad you out there are listening or watching. We're glad you're here. But if you're not, you're not.
Yeah.
If you're not, we're glad about that too.
Oh.
This was so much drink, you guys.
Oh
my
my
God.
God.
So much drink.
It
Oh my
was so
God.
much drink. All right. So we'll see you next month with Waco by Jeff Gwynne. Okay.
You
Bye.
didn't